Hello there again, YouTube. This is the Captain with another entry from the Chronicles. Today, we're going to be going through the second level of the Ulduar raid. I do want to take a moment to correct myself in the previous tutorial. I believe that I mentioned a couple times that this was an Ulduar dungeon, and it is not. I wanted to make sure that it is stated as a raid, because that's what it is. And so, with that said, we're going to be completing the second floor of the Ulduar raid, the antechamber of Ulduar, and we are going to be then Algalon the Observer, and then Kolgagarn. No, this is the second tutorial in a mini-series on how to solo the Ulduar raid, and this is the second floor. So let's continue. As you go through here, you're going to be defeating these few sentries here. Just easily gather them up and use a AoE of some kind, and you can easily take them out. They're not very difficult. And of course, as you go throughout this dungeon, oh excuse me, I said it again, this raid, you're going to want to be sure to pick up really all the loot that you can, because you're going to find a lot of really cool transmogrifiable pieces and things you can't get anywhere else in the game. So it's always really neat to be able to pick up a sword or a mace or something, and everyone's wondering where you got it, and you just tell them, well, I got it from the time that I soloed the Ulduar raid. So it's kind of neat to be able to do that. So here we're going to go over to the left here and defeat the Assembly of Iron that we talked about. Just easily go through here and knock these guys out. Now, like I mentioned before in my other tutorial, you're going to want to be able to solo this dungeon, excuse me, this raid, you're going to want to be no less than a level 100, maybe 95 if you're really pushing your luck, but these mobs and bosses are level 80 and above, so I would suggest that you not try to solo this unless you're level 100 at least, and just becomes that much easier, obviously, the higher level you are. Now you'll notice here that I've got an add-on again. I mentioned in my first video, part 1, that helps me visualize the cooldowns and the attacks and spells and things that are being cast by bosses, and that add-on again is called Bigwigs. So if you ever fight a boss that you can't really seem to beat, then just get the add-on and activate it, and it'll be able to tell you what spells are about to be cast and timers, and it helps really. It really helps you getting the timing down whenever using your own spells and attacks to be able to defeat that boss. So, as you come in here, this is where the Assembly of Iron, and excuse me, not the Assembly of Iron, we've already passed the Assembly of Iron. We defeated those bosses that you saw back there. This is more of a little side mission that allows you to go and pick up pieces in a quest in this raid. It isn't really necessary. It actually isn't necessary at all for the completion of the raid, solo or not. But it's a cool little side note here, and so I'll explain how to do this since we're here already. You open up the console, and the console, as it says here, the console appears ancient, though there is no sign of dilapidation or decay. A single slot appears to fit large circular discs, and so obviously talking to Brand Bronze here, he goes throughout this raid periodically and tries to collect those discs, and then once you collect those discs, you can come back to this area and put them in the slots here. But as you see there, it says commencing the Watcher Freya status analysis, and it kind of just explains to you who Watcher Freya is, everything about her, what she does, her defenses, and kind of gives you a breakdown of what she is. And for those of you who aren't familiar with this raid, Watcher Freya is on the 3rd floor, which will be in the next tutorial, and she is right here, and it just describes kind of how to defeat her more easily, kind of the defenses that she uses, and then of course all of the bosses in that floor are described and broken down here. So anyhow, we'll go ahead and continue on. Oh wow, check that out. I got a little pet out of the last boss fight there. And then of course transmogrifiable head and two-handed and chest piece. So, like I said, there's a lot to be had in this raid. As with most raids, I personally farm this raid every week for pets and mounts and whatnot, but the raids that I do solo on a weekly basis are Ulduar, and then Firelands, and then Ice Crown Citadel. Now the Ice Crown Citadel is one of my favorites for 2 reasons. One is it drops a lot of really rare pets, and 2, the Lich King also drops a mount when done on level 25, on the heroic 25 level. But anyhow, after you finish the assembly of iron, you come back through this antechamber here. You go ahead and defeat the sentries and the overseers here. Excuse me. And then you make your way back to this right side for Algalon the Observer. And you're going to make it through this little planetarium now. There is a quest that I mentioned before that allows you to go into this room, and obviously without the quest you're not able to enter, and it's not even interactable. But this is kind of a neat little room here, the planetarium. You defeat this overseer. Off to the left side here, you'll see the Celestial Planetarium access. You activate it, and the door will open. Kind of a nifty little lock there. You enter into here. Now, in this particular area, this room here, you'll fight a boss that actually drops a transmogrifiable dagger called the Fang of Oblivion, and this is what that looks like. It's really a neat dagger. It was my favorite dagger for the longest time, but it drops in this room right here. Now there are multiple phases to this boss in particular, but if you defeat him fast enough, you won't have to worry about the other phases. But if you do end up going into the other phase, you'll have to be really careful because there are a lot of ghosts that swarm you and can actually kill you pretty quickly, even at this high level. So this part is actually just waiting for Algalon to go through his speech here. He just talks about how he's going to destroy the world. You know, basic bad guy stuff. But anyway, I'm just gonna wait for him to finish his speech, and then when he's done, obviously then you'll attack him. See, there you go. You've attacked him. He now says your actions are illogical. He doesn't want you to attack him. He doesn't understand why you're attacking him, because he's trying to save the planet by destroying it. But gotta wait here for a few seconds. He goes through his little speech again, takes you into another realm, and then he attacks you, and you'll be able to defeat him. Obviously, he's getting ready to release that skill there in 3 seconds, so I will do my general attacks, then go behind him, and then use my other attacks here. You'll want to stay away from these black circles. And there you go, I've defeated him. Let's say if you ever get to these black circles, you want to stay away from them. They are black holes that will drain the life out of you, so you want to be very careful. And then of course you can open this, and I didn't get the Fang of Oblivion. I did get a crossbow and a mace. Let's see what the mace looks like. That's some pretty cool looking mace. Put my King's Blade back on. That's not a terrible looking crossbow either. And you get some pretty cool looking weapons in here. Now, the really neat kind of theme that they got going on here in this raid is the dwarven made weapons and armor, which looks ironically a lot like Skyrim, if any of you guys play that. But you have to go back out through the planetarium entrance here, and then we're going to go in here to fight Kolgarn. Now there's an achievement to be had by fighting Kolgarn here, but in order to do it, you have to defeat Kolgarn by defeating each of his arms and then his body in 12 seconds. Now be careful, because he will grab at you, and when he does, that gaze will kill you very quickly. So you want to be careful not to get in that gaze too long. And obviously, as you can tell, it's been far more than 12 seconds. But you obviously will want to do that with a group of people. And when you do, make sure one or many people are on each arm, and then once those arms are destroyed, defeat Kolgarn himself. And it all has to be done in 12 seconds. In order to do it, from the time that you cross this threshold and he appears, from the moment you can see his arms to the time that he is defeated, it requires to be 12 seconds for the achievement, which is one of a list of achievements to receive a mount from doing the Glory of the Ulduar Raider achievement. Anyways, as Kolgarn is defeated, he actually falls and creates a bridge into this area, which is the inner sanctum of Ulduar. And here is the teleport pad that will allow you to actually teleport back to any of the previous areas that you've been in, with the exception of the Ulduar tram, which is actually on this floor. And the tram is this long train that actually teleports you between the Sparks of Imagination and the Inner Sanctum here. You'll go through here, and this tram is what takes you to the Sparks of Imagination. Anyhow, that is the part 2 of how to solo the Ulduar Raider. If you appreciated the video and liked it, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Captain's Chronicles, and like the video and share. And tell anyone who would be interested in seeing more tutorials on how to play WoW to check me out. And if you have any requests or any kind of ideas of what you'd like to see in a walkthrough or tutorial, just put it in the comments, and I will do my very best to make one at request. So you guys have a great day, and thanks again.